I also come from, if your listeners don't know what apartheid as yet, they can Google what apartheid is all about. But I come from apartheid South Africa, been through the struggles, been to the point where you really excel in sports and you can represent your country, but the color of your skin deprives you of that opportunity. I mean, I, for one, I've been through like the worst of apartheid, like being beaten by the apartheid police because I was in the city center after curfew time. But imagine if I held on to that anger and that, I wouldn't say hatred, that dislike. It wouldn't have allowed me to be who I am today. So I keep saying to people, I keep preaching to people, it's happened, let's just move forward. But we're just grateful that we had a roof over our heads. I still remember as well, we had like one kitchen, we had an outside bathroom, outside toilet, not even a bathroom, outside toilet, and we had a lounge and a room basically. My background is one of extreme poverty, and when I say extreme poverty, I mean going to school on a cold day with no jersey or no shoes. A lot of the book sales will go into the community skills village for our non-profit organization. Again, it's giving back to make sure, because we all could do it with money, but I don't need billions to survive. I don't need millions in my bank account to survive. It's going to lie there. Hope for me is to have the skills village up and running to the point where even if I'm no longer around, other people can still continue doing this work. The second part was to share mind hacks and techniques that I used on myself, that they could use for any obstacle or challenge that they went through in their lives. I teach you how to find your purpose, how to understand your values, and how to understand how your thoughts work, how to understand what you're going through, how to dissect this, all of that in the first phase, which is internal foundation. And the second phase is external foundation. And this is now taking what you've learned and going and applying it in your personal and professional life so that you can show up as your best.
It's just, you got to be patient and be kind to yourself. And sometimes you will find it, sometimes you won't, and that's okay. But as long as you try, that's all that matters.
And keep trying, right?
Yeah.
Keep trying. Just don't stop, because I didn't get to this point overnight. It took me years and years and years to get here.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Zen and Now. Today's guest is someone whose journey speaks directly to the soul. Nolan Pillay is a professional speaker, best-selling author, life coach, and a man who's walked through the fire of transformation to become who he is today. From navigating cultural expectations to uncovering deep purpose, Nolan's story is one of resilience, reinvention, and realignment. He's not just teaching mindset, he's living the shifts. In this conversation, we go deep beyond the highlight reel. We talk about masculine identity, inner peace, and a spiritual truth that often come wrapped in struggle. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Nolan.
Thank you so much, Kishan. Really good to be here. And thank you for having me as a guest.
You're welcome. I mean, I've heard quite a lot of good things about you from my previous guest, Tavanya, and when she mentioned that we connect, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, true. Except that you're just the opposite of a football fan to what I am. For another day, right?
Yeah, we'll caption that for another day, but another season, we'll see what happens this season.
Yeah. I seriously hope you guys can come in with more competition this season.
I hope so, man.
That's a team we know.
Yeah. So Nolan, can you give us a little bit of a brief background, who you are, where you come from, and what led you along this journey?
Sure. So, like Kishan has mentioned, my name is Nolan. I'm born in a small little town called Pietermaritzburg. Is one of extreme poverty. And, when I say extreme poverty, I mean going to school on a cold day with no jersey or no shoes. Very often, sometimes you're not getting to school with lunch because your parents cannot afford to buy bread. But thankfully for us, the schools had us covered. They gave us the peanut butter and the jam sandwiches and a glass of water. So, that sustained me. But a lot of what we're going to talk about today, I think, is going to be around the values that I grew up with. You see, I also come from, if your listeners don't know what apartheid as yet, they can Google what apartheid is all about. But I come from apartheid South Africa, been through the struggles, been to the point where you really excel in sports and you can represent your country, but the color of your skin deprives you of that opportunity. So, I've been through a lot with that. But, fast forward into the current day as well, a lot of that upbringing has grown me into the person that I am today. Currently, I still focus on my IT work. I'm a SAP consultant by trade. I've been doing that for the last 3 decades. I try to get out of it as much as possible, but, the IT world pulls you in. But for me, it's just living this purpose driven work that I'm doing now. That's for me
Yeah.
matters more.
Yeah, I think most people would be aware of what apartheid is. I think most of my listeners do come from South Africa. They would understand it. But, going through living through that era, it's built a lot of resilient people out there, I feel. I've
Absolutely.
met a couple of people in Canada who've come from that era, yet they still have reservations about it and they still feel a bit sad about it, and they feel angry as well. But I think it's built something within them to be resilient. And what I've learned along this journey, as well as being an immigrant, you kind of have to have that part of you to survive.
No, true. And like you said as well, a lot of people are angry about it. But in most of my talks and my teachings, I say to people, the past is the past. We can't undo what we've been through. I mean, I for one, I've been through like the worst of apartheid, like being beaten by the apartheid police because I was in the city center after curfew time. But imagine if I held on to that anger and that, I wouldn't say hatred, that dislike. It wouldn't have allowed me to be who I am today. So I keep saying to people, I keep preaching to people, it's happened. Let's just move forward. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah, we can be aware of it and not make the same
Exactly.
mistakes again. That's it.
True.
And I think you guys have paved the way for us, for my generation,
Yeah.
to to have an education free of those kind of tyrannies and fear. We went to school. We had opportunities to learn, to thrive, just to experience life as it was back in the 80s, 90s. And I think we have to give a salute to you guys to actually who have gone through
Yeah.
those phases to give us the opportunity to pave the way. And I think also now we have the opportunity, like millennial generation, have the opportunity now to kind of break all those toxic ways of thinking, which we had carried on with from our parents, so that the next generation can start to have a little bit more independently free thinking and just learn to express themselves without fear.
Absolutely. Totally correct. Totally true. And look, as much as the conditioning is still there from parents, because I work a lot with millennials and basically a lot of youth as well. And most of the time, you hear from them that they are so aggrieved about apartheid. They don't know what apartheid is, but it's that parental conditioning that keeps them in the slot. And that's what, as parents, I mean, I'm a parent to two kids. Well, not kids, they adult, full grown adults. And I don't ever teach them about what we've been through. They know it's there, it's a reality, but I don't allow it to be a blocker in their lives. And one shouldn't.
Yeah, like you said, it all stems from the parents, right? If
Yeah, true.
the parents are still bitter about that era, it will carry on, and it will
Correct.
transfer us back onto the next generation, and they hold on to those values. But if you
True.
are strong in your mindset, kind of you kind of like break those molds or those barriers, and then
Yeah,
you stem the way for the next generation.
absolutely.
Yeah, and you're like where you come from, a lot of people who won't understand KZN. Can you just give us like what kind of childhood uh, bar the struggles that you had living in KZN, Durban, for those who don't know.
Yes. So yeah. So part of KZN is also Pietermaritzburg, another city. It's a small little city just before Durban. So, being a small little town, you don't have access to a lot of things. Uh, for example, people used to be transported to their schools. I remember still as a young boy, I used to walk to my school, which was at least about 5.5, 6 kilometers away from home, every single day in the morning and in the afternoon as well. So, we had to go through of that. Sometimes if it's raining, or if it's
Yeah.
really hot, you go through that weather. So, we had to do it because we needed the education. But going back to a little more when I was even a 10-year-old boy, I'm sure some of your listeners will know. I speak about this story often because it's really touching to me. So I remember as a 10-year-old boy, I used to go out at 5 a.m. in the morning every day with my siblings, and we used to sell these Indian delicacies. One of them is called a samosa. So a lot of
Mhm.
people refer it to as a triangle delicacy, but it has a
Yeah.
lot of filling in it, like either mince or chicken or even some vegetables as well. But Kishan, we used to go out and sell this to the local neighborhood, all because we needed money to buy bread, right? And life was very easy for me back then. For us, if we did not make a sale, it just meant that we did not have money to buy bread, which just meant that we didn't have lunch for school. So it was really tough days. I even remember studying with a small candle like this, not
Mhm.
because the local provider ESCOM has turned down the power or turned off the power. It was purely because my parents could not afford to pay the electricity bill. So, the struggle was really real, uh, but we got through it. We were happy. We didn't have the finances, etc., but we are just grateful that we had a roof over our heads. I still remember as well. We had like one kitchen. We had an outside bathroom, outside toilet, not even a bathroom, outside toilet, and we had a lounge and a room basically. So the parents' room, but the lounge it was open plan, right? So we
Yeah.
had to we had to divide that lounge and make it into a floor bed for us, the children, to sleep on. And you know how we divided this? By a curtain in between.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can you imagine? And that's what I'm saying. It was really tough times, but just grateful for getting through that. Grateful to our parents for not giving up on us. Right?
Yeah. It's so
All right.
important to have that support structure, even though
Yeah.
you, like you said, you guys didn't have much, and I think people also, the communities around you, also probably didn't have much at that point, because
Yes.
given the status of the way the country was, it was very difficult. I mean, I can
That's right.
remember my grandparents and parents. I mean, they were tailors by trade, and they had to, fund their lifestyle that way. And if there was no work, there was no work, right?
Yeah.
So they had to like make it. They didn't have the formal education that we have had the opportunities to get, but they made do with what they had. And
True.
my mom never like finished matric in that sense, because they always like, she was the oldest of six, and
Okay.
had to take care of the other kids as well. And but she was brought up with core values as well. And then with that, and my dad was also, he is very hardworking. Still till today, he's in his 70s. He's still working. He loves what he. I mean, you can see now he's getting along in age. He's tired. He wants to rest now. Uh, but there's something that innate, like stubbornness to stop.
Yeah.
Because they've been doing it for so long.
Called
And
independence, right?
yeah, it's because that's what those generations taught us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, after you guys, we were taught, we were just like outside in the street playing with our friends. We didn't have the constraints. I think that, not constraints, but I don't think the safety guards or safety rails that today's generation have. We were allowed to go outside and experience getting hurt, uh, breaking something, and then getting in trouble, coming back to your parents' house and say, "Oh, I did that," because you were just so you're curious about the world,
Yeah.
and your friends around you, your community around you was just the same.
Absolutely. You could play on the streets, huh? I mean, we could play out late in the street. Even if the street lights come on, you still don't want to go inside because you're enjoying the company. I mean,
Yeah.
our Wimbledon was on a road. You just draw the white marker. That became Wimbledon for
That's it.
us, right?
Or football pitch, with two
Or a
bricks
football
as,
pitch.
as
Yeah.
goals. Yeah. or
It was
cricket with a dustbin, well,
true.
trash, you know, and
And
that
the
was it.
shoes was the goalpost
Yeah,
for
yeah.
football on the road.
You made your own rules,
Yeah,
uh, and that's how I think we created camaraderie. We created communications skills. We learned to fend for ourselves when in terms
yeah,
of adversity. Because I mean, we always had issues here and there, but generally it was a core time for us where we learned to learn to be in society and not be afraid of the outside world.
yeah. It's sad because a lot of the younger kids or kids that are born in today's day and age, their parents tend to keep them in a glass box in a way, and that's sad because they really need to be running around the yard as an example, and not
Mhm.
be restricted. Get used to what it feels like to be outside.
Yeah, mindfulness, just being aware of grounding. The
That's it.
grass under your feet or
Yeah,
sand under your fingernails because you've been playing marbles or top or something.
yeah, those days, huh?
Yeah, you're taking me back now.
Well, those are special days. They're
Yeah,
always special. But
yeah.
you
Sometimes
mentioned
just
you mentioned something that just stuck in my mind. Sorry, you mentioned that a lot of people weren't like well-to-do just because you're opening your mouth and you're speaking about what's right. So I always encourage that, and especially, with kids growing up as well, if they feel that they're being abused in a certain way, they need to speak up and let their parents know about what's going on. Because
yeah,
what's going to happen with this generation is if we don't allow them to speak up, they're going to keep this within themselves. It's going to lead to depression. It's going to lead to more mental wellness issues
yes,
than what we're experiencing now. And the reason why I mention that is because on the weekend I was in Pretoria, just doing a book tour, and a lot of parents were talking specifically about that, where they're saying their children don't like to talk to them. But and then I asked him the question. I threw it back to him. I said, "So how accessible are you if your
yes,
child comes up to you and wants to speak to you?" And they like sit back and they think about it, and then they realize maybe they're being too hard, and
mhm,
they need to allow their child to come and speak to them. So it's a reality that is happening
yeah.
now.
I think that's a good thing where you're having those kind of conversations and parents are
Yeah.
actually acknowledging that maybe on the other side is how do I now allow my child to come and talk to me about what they're experiencing? Because, like you said, it's that fear-based
Yeah.
uh, action that okay, I'm the parent and I know everything, but in
Yeah.
terms it it doesn't always work that way because they're just projecting what they feel onto you and not the other way around.
Right.
Instead of asking you or saying, yeah, it's not gentle parenting. It's just about, hey, you know what I'm saying? If you have something that's on your chest, even if you can't verbally say it to me, come, just write it down and hand it to me and let's work through that because there's many ways to do it.
Yeah.
And then that's when you start to you put it out there in the universe and you can start working through whatever is
True.
bothering you at the time.
Get it off your chest, right? Because
Yeah.
culturally, or we all have this way. We're not allowed to speak up, especially to an adult. I mean, those are the 1980s. We in
Mm.
2025.
Yeah.
One needs to be heard, and more so, I think one needs to be seen as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think especially for male counterparts, I think it's more difficult to express,
Yeah.
especially from an Indian society. And something happened to me this morning. You know,
Yeah.
I reached out to a longtime friend, and actually he's quite a figure now in South Africa. And he mentioned something to me that just kind of like broke my heart. And like his wife, they're having a bit of, they're going through a bit of a health scenario right now. And he mentioned to me that the family support that he thought he would have is not there. And that related to me as well when you're at your deepest level or your lowest levels, those people that you think who are supposed to be there for you aren't. But when you're at your highest level, then they start appearing.
Yeah.
And
True.
it just made me
True.
sad. It just made me feel sad.
Yeah. No, but it is, right? It's shocking. So I personally don't keep a lot of friends in my circle. I have friends, I have close friends, and I have acquaintances. But I've been through phases in my life where I was really, really doing so well at certain points where almost every weekend my friends are here, we're having a braai, we're drinking,
Mm.
partying and stuff like that. And then when I went through like a bankrupt state in my life or stage in my life, wow, they disappeared like I was the plague. Huh? And that, but the good thing is when this happens, one needs to realize this is not happening for no reason. There's something that you need to learn from here, and you don't go back to that old bad habit again. And that's what happened to me, and that allowed me to grow even more as well, and to kind of open your eyes in a way, right?
Yeah. Then you really know who's there for you.
Yeah, true.
You know, that,
And that's both
exactly.
friends and family, right?
Mhm. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So Nolan, can you give us like the reason, your reason of why you do what you do?
Oh wow. I think the first thing is I love doing what I'm doing now, and that's serving humanity, working with other humans. Apart from what I do in my professional world, like IT consulting and professional speaking, I also run a nonprofit organization. My nonprofit, I'm the founder of it. It's called Be the Best Version of Yourself. So what we do is we all about inclusivity. And when I talk about inclusivity, I mean taking the disabled communities into consideration. Uh, the foundation is run in has three different ways or three different main projects. The first project within it is called Climb Kilimanjaro. So what this means is every 2 years we climb the highest mountain in Africa for different causes. So,
Correct.
for example, in 2019, my wife and I climbed it, and we did it for girls in rural areas to have access to sanitary pads. Now, if you
Yes.
think about sanitary pads, especially for the poor girls out there, this is something that should be a must. And I always believe if the government can take condoms and put it in the male bathrooms, why can they not put
Yeah, exactly.
sanitary pads in the female toilets for the young girls? So you see, the priorities are totally different. But that was just one of the projects. And then in 2022, I took 5 deaf people up the mountain, and the reason why we did that was basically to allow the deaf people to feel inclusive and also to make their dreams become a reality. But as we worked on that project, it actually grew to the point where we started to raise funds for children that are born deaf to have access to hearing aids. Now, again, for me, a child that has a disability like this, one should be able to provide these hearing aids for free
Yeah.
because you allow the child to live a normal life as well. So we were able to help 5 children with our fundraising. And the last part of the 2022 climb was to start bridging the gaps between the hearing people and the deaf community so that we can allow them to see human first and not see color of their skin or disability as well.
Disability.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was two of it. And then again, last year, what we did is we climbed again. So we do it every 2 years, Kishan, right?
Okay.
So last year we climbed it again. We did it for cancer and mental wellness. And cancer, I've lost a lot of people in my family to cancer. The youngest being 11-year-old, my nephew, and that
I'm
like
sorry to hear
really,
that.
thank you. It really touched us in a big way, and we realized that we need to create more awareness on cancer and creating awareness for it. And I don't like to use the word cancer because you know about energy, you know about the universe. The more you
Correct.
use the word, the more you're kind of attracting it to you. So that's why
Mhm.
I kind of say cancer awareness. So that was a good project for us. For me, it was something else because it happened uh, after my COVID experience. So we'll talk about that in a short bit, I'm sure. But that was the third climb we did, and then next year we're doing it again in August. But that this time we're going to take 5 blind people up, and we're doing it for autism. Now, you
Oh,
may ask
okay.
why blind, or your audience or your listeners might say, but blind, how can they see? Well, we know that their other senses kick in and they
Oh,
can
yeah.
visualize themselves at the top of the mountain. So that's one of the things that we do with the foundation. Project is Kilimanjaro. The second part is called Project 1 Million. And Project 1 Million is all about touching 1 million youth in Africa through the various programs that we do. I've been part of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, who that are in Canada. I've actually got the license. I bought the IP from them to teach and
Okay.
coach their content in Africa. But what I did along the way is I realized that, okay, their content is good, really good, because I still read Think and Grow Rich. But for
Yes.
me, African people or Africans relate to local stories. And I was able to transpose that into a 12-week program that I run for the youth. And that's how I aim to touch the 1 million lives. So that's the second part about it. And the last part about it is with our foundation, our goal is to start up a community skills village. And you know, Africa, right?
Yeah.
This is so well
Yeah.
needed because people are living in slums, more worse than slums. So the intention with the skills village is to be able to bring the youth in here, get them in the right state of mind, teach them a skill, and put them out into the real world to go out and fish. Because if they can fish for themselves, they can look after their families. They can start now creating the ripple effect in their communities as well, because that's what we always encourage them to do. So why am I doing what I'm doing currently? It's because of all of this. You know, for me,
Okay.
the biggest thing is to see that smile on another human's face, right? That's priceless.
Yeah. Firstly, I commend you for what you're doing with your foundation.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. That's amazing. I think a lot more is needed of
Yeah.
this kind of work. And if you can touch, like you said, if you can touch just a small portion of the population with your work, and that in turns it to a ripple effect. It starts the momentum going. And one thing, when your first cause, when you mentioned about sanitary pads, it took me back to a movie I watched about in a Bollywood movie with Akshay Kumar about Batman. Have you ever watched it?
Batman. Batman.
Yeah,
Is it that?
yeah, yeah.
I,
That
I,
one.
I'm sure I must have watched it along the way.
Yeah, but it took me back to that experience where when his wife was experiencing menstrual um, cramps and stuff, and
Yes,
they
I
would,
watched the Batman.
yeah, they
Batman.
provided her
Yes.
with that dirty cloth to,
Yes.
and they would
Yeah.
sleep outside, and he was curious, like, why this is not, and then he created a cheaper option, but a
Yeah.
sustainable option for a cheaper option for girls in rural areas, so they could start living healthily and then just get on with their day and not be
Yeah.
ostracized because of cultural beliefs or whatever. But what you said makes sense. We've got to get these kind of resources out there free of charge so that people can. It shouldn't be charged in the first place. To me, honestly,
Absolutely.
those resources should be made available uh, free
Should be
of
a
charge,
human
like you
right.
said. Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we are born the way we are born. The anatomy
Yeah.
is what it is, and those kind of resources should be available, free of charge. You shouldn't be asked to pay a premium for those things. No.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally
And
agree.
what you're doing,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, no. So I say totally agree. And I remember that movie. I remember how he was going from one company to the next, trying to
Mhm.
motivate why this is so needed and how many people were turning him down and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It all comes back to that societal why.
yeah.
Why do we do this? Why are
Why
you
do
doing
we
this?
do it?
It's profound upon. It doesn't make sense. I think the curious generation really stumped the boomers and previous generation because they didn't have the answers as to why. They just carried on. Whoever
Doing
created
it,
it
right?
just exactly. So,
Yeah.
and then also like the Kilimanjaro Foundation. If somebody's listening and wants to get involved, can they as well?
Oh, yeah. I would love that. In fact, if your listeners are keen, we busy putting together a team now for next year's climb, which is in August. So if anyone's keen, they can go onto our Facebook page, which is it's called Be the Best Version of Yourself. But I'm sure my details will be at the end of the
Yeah.
podcast as well. So they always can connect with me and I can present to them the opportunity, explain them the cost behind it, and how we actually do this. So yeah, no, happy to take on anyone. In fact, we do have two people from Canada. I'm just waiting for them to confirm it 100%. But yeah,
I
so it's
mean,
open to anyone.
yeah, I do know a previous guest of mine. She was one of her dreams is to climb Kilimanjaro. So maybe I can
Oh, wow.
I'll send us to her, and then maybe she can have a look, and if it's something of interest of her, she can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. That'll be awesome. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. I think the more kind of discussions we have like this, the more connections we make, and we just
True.
get people to live a life that they want to do in
That's it. Yeah.
in a healthy way.
Make an
But no,
impact out there. Make a difference, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when times get tough for you, Nolan, who's there for you right now?
Oh, I still go through tough times. We all human. We go through it. But for me, when I'm going through a challenging day or having a hard time, through my experience, through my learnings, I've learned to kind of control it on my own. So one of the things, and I think this might be useful to your listeners as well, is when you are having a tough day, always just take a breath, pause, and try to understand firstly why you are experiencing that thought or why you're experiencing whatever experience you're going through at that time. Because every single thing that we go through, we just don't go through it for nothing, right? For me, I've been through a lot of obstacles and challenges in my life. But what I've learned to do is every single one of those, I always ask myself the question, what can I learn from this? What is this
Yeah,
trying to teach me? But when I do that, when I apply that kind of thinking into it, it allows me to grow through that challenge and not just go through it. So that's the
right.
difference. And that's what I appreciate. So, yeah, always pause, reflect, even if it means making notes, make a note down as well. Another trick that I do is, or I've learned is, whenever I experience like a negative thought, because we know there's a lot of negative media out there. So, for one,
For
I
sure.
keep away from that. But negative thoughts still come into your boundary for some reason. But what I tend to do is I write this negative thought down, and I write five positive things to offset that one negative. And through practice and through making this into like a daily habit, you're able to reduce the amount of negative thoughts that come into your mind. And this takes time; it doesn't happen overnight. But these are some of the things that you can do to just stay grounded, right? Grounding
Yeah,
is so important. You mentioned it earlier on when we are talking about the kids as well, Kishen. So I got a lot of green grass in my backyard here. So I take out my socks and I go and just stand on the ground, right? I stay grounded because just taking that breath or taking that 5 or 10 minutes away from your laptop or what you're doing allows you to calm yourself down. So
yeah,
even if it was somebody that was having an argument with you, instead of you retaliating in an aggressive way, rather just walk away. Go and just catch your breath and come back and rather deal with the problem in a very constructive way. And when I say
yeah,
constructive way, I think the listeners should know that any feedback that we get is really a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So don't ever take
yeah.
any
Criticism.
feedback as a negative.
Yeah. Sometimes we take criticism on the chest and we focus on that instead of what it's trying to teach us.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I struggle with that a bit at times,
Yeah.
but I'm getting better at learning to accept criticism and use it as a learning tool to try and improve myself. Because I know I do the same to these other side as well. So it's not just a one-way streak. I'm going to give advice to somebody and they're not going to like it. But like you said, it's how we react to the situation that
True.
will benefit, just not just yourself, but going forward, the other person as well, or the other party as well.
Yeah. And you do get better at it, right? You need to now change your mindset in such a way that you must be receptive to it. And when you do that, then you never or you're not going to come into a situation where you're going to get angry when somebody gives you feedback. You'll actually listen
Yeah.
to them. And I do this often, right? Because sometimes I'll be practicing for one of my talks, and I have a one-man audience here, which is my wife, right? So
Okay.
I'll be practicing in front of her, and she will give me feedback.
The most important critic.
Yeah, and she does not mince her words. She says it like it
Yeah.
is, and I take note of it. And then when I practice it again, she says, "But wow, it's like chalk and cheese," because I took that into heart and I worked on it and I delivered a better talk the next time.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break. Before we continue with today's episode, if you're enjoying it, if I could ask you for a small favor, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It will not only help the channel grow, but it will also allow me to bring you a lot more guests and a lot more experiences. Thank you. Back to the show. Yeah. Something you mentioned earlier about, you writing down your feelings. Something similar I would like to share is like I have a trigger log because I struggle with, not struggle actually, but something that I've accepted is with anxiety. And when I'm feeling anxious in a moment or a thought, an intrusive thought that comes through, I have a trigger log. So I'll jot the thought down, how it made me feel, what sensation was I feeling at the time, and what part of my body was triggered, and then what can I do better in that the next time that it comes along. So you just kind of process that in a visual way where you're jotting it down, you're taking it out of your
Yeah.
system, and you're processing it that way. That was introduced to me by my therapist, and that kind of like helped me stay grounded in and not stay focused on too much of the negative thought, so
Yeah.
I can quickly move on uh, to a much more healthier space or healthier frame of mind.
I love that. And journaling is something that's so important as well, right? Because there's a difference when you write it down, it kind of has a different effect than when you try to play it out in your mind.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can get stuck in the loop or the infinitive loop of
Mm,
I should have done this, I could have done this, it would have had helped me if I did this. No, but then you go back to why, and then it just gets smashed up in your brain, and you kind of don't know where you are
you don't
in
know where
that
you
present
started.
moment.
Well,
Yeah, exactly. There's something they taught to us so when I was in institutionalized, one of the learnings that I took from my scenario is that if you talk your truth at the source, you won't have that infinity loop of going back and forth
yeah,
of why you're doing or what you said or what you felt. So if you dealt with it at source, it stops there. Or you tell your truth at source, it stops there. Because if you keep going, the lies and the intrusive thoughts will just keep coming back at you. And that's when you start to go down the rabbit hole and you feel so inundated, you just can't breathe. You have panic
yeah,
attacks, et cetera, et cetera. But like you said, when you take that breath and you just take a moment, cognitively, you start functioning much better, start thinking critically cleaner, and you're then able to like handle that scenario in a much more healthier space.
absolutely. And look, Kishan, when I was growing up as well, I did not have a coach or a mentor who could guide me on this. Yes, we had the uncles and the aunts that used to just help us along the way, but not the type of information that we have out there today. So I do a lot of when I do coach and train people, I speak a lot about inner work, right? And that's exactly
Yeah.
what you spoke about now, the root cause. Because if you don't work on the root, well, one, you have to accept that there is a problem within yourself, and when you go into acceptance, then you can find that root cause much more easier and start working on it. So, to everyone out there as well, it's all about inner healing first before you can even attempt to do anything else. So it's so
Yeah.
important. Uh, you know, I said to Tavania quite a few times as well, self-love and self-worth in today's day and age is the most important thing. I, for one, was not focused on self-worth all of these years because I didn't know better. I always worried about helping other people, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. And then you burn out, right? So these things we learn as we go along, but we need to accept and take responsibility for our actions and work on that. That's the inner work we need to do.
When did that penny drop for you? Do you remember?
Wow. So I've been doing inner work for a long time. More so, I would say, wow, I think so in 2021, I'll give you the most recent one. Right? I've been through a lot of these because it happens all the time. For me, when in January 2021, I was admitted with COVID pneumonia. I went in with 58% oxygen levels. So
Jeez.
58% is a near death experience.
Yeah.
Uh, and I remember, when I got in, they had me in casualty, and the doctor looked at me. He looked at my family and he shook his head, almost like, this guy is not
No
going to make
chance.
it. No chance. And I observed that I was struggling to breathe because of 58% oxygen levels. But in that slow breath, I managed to say to my family, don't worry, I will walk out from this hospital. So at that point, it was that decision that I made, right? I had to make that decision. But now you
Yeah.
can't just make a decision and take accountability for where you are at that point. You need to do some inner work on it. And a lot of that inner work for me was positive self talk, meditation, prayer, all of that. I mean, I ended up spending 13 days in the intensive care unit. Uh, Although it was 13 days, I watched a lot of trauma. Every day
Mm.
you find a bed being wheeled across like this with the head covered, you know that someone else has passed on. So imagine watching all of that and you still have to deal with getting yourself out of that hospital. And it
Yeah.
so happened that on day 6, I gave up on my life because there was a doctor opposite me who was on the ventilator and he was pulling out all the cords, falling on the floor, basically saying to the nurses he wants to die. And this is a
Wow.
doctor, right? And I
Yeah.
didn't know that although I was observing this, it was affecting me mentally.
Of
And
course.
it hit me to such a point that I went to bed. This was around day 6. It was on day 6, in fact. On day 7, when I woke up, his bed was empty. And I asked the nurse what happened. And they said to me, he passed on. Wow.
Jeez.
I went cold. I still get goosebumps speaking about this story because it's just 4 years ago, right? But I contacted my family and I said to them, I can't do this anymore. So I was giving up on my life. But of course, family will motivate you and say, well, you'll be fine, etc. I still was not listening to them until my daughter took a copy of something I carry with me. That's called my gold card. So this I learned from the late legend Bob Proctor, right? I mean, I was a student of his. So I carry this in my pocket every single day. It's called my gold card. And she just said to me these words: don't forget what your purpose is.
Mm.
And immediately, Kishan, I had to snap out of that victim self pity mindset
Mentality.
and change the mindset and then start working on getting out of there because I knew my purpose, my why was still waiting for me. There was still so much more I needed to do. And lo and behold, 13 days later, I was able to leave the hospital. But there again, it was a condition that I needed to be on this oxygen tank for a whole
Mm.
month. I said, no, man, I'm a fit guy. I play sports, I play football, I climb mountains. You want me to carry this oxygen tank and walk around my yard?
Chance.
But eventually, just because I wanted to be discharged, I took it on. And then after 2 weeks, we called him and said, come take this away, give it to somebody who needs it. I'll be fine. And again, the grounding worked helped me here because during those 2 weeks, I used to walk around my yard. I used to actually go by the trees and
And
smell the
yeah.
green leaves, that fresh oxygen. And that thing was doing so much of wonders to me. And the more I realized that, wow, this is helping me internally, the more I went out and I did it. And eventually, I got out of that situation from that COVID. So that was one of the instances where it really dropped for me, and I could have lost my life if I did not make that decision to survive, if I did not say that, you know what, I can fight this as well. A
Yeah.
lot of people who passed on with COVID, one of the biggest causes of death was fear, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Was
For
fear.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make an important point there. I mean, we take for granted what Mother Nature provides for us,
Yeah.
and in terms of resources. I mean, sometimes we look to technology for too much of comfort, whereas Mother Nature has always provided it. And
Yeah.
you yourself, I mean, given your background and your upbringing, there's something within you that was a resilient part to say, yeah, sometimes you feel like you want to give up. It's a natural trait of a human being when you're
Yeah.
in those environments to feel that way. I, to myself, at one point, had suicidal ideations and thought,
Oh,
the world will be, everything will be better if I just not here. But then you see, like you said, when you're in the hospital and you saw so much of trauma, so much. like myself in the hospital as well, you see so much of trauma. Uh, you realize, no, I'm not alone in going through all of this.
Yeah.
Within yourself, you know that there's a higher purpose for you out there. So when you leave and you manifested your health again, because like you said, it all comes down to inner work, right?
Yeah.
You believe that you could get better, and when you get out of that situation, then you think to yourself, okay, how can I help the next person who's going through that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm glad that you're here, man, and you got through that phase of your life. No, I'm serious because I say this with so much of love and respect because a lot of people resonate with other stories, right? So the more you share that with other people, the more we can help them to get through whatever challenges or traumas that they're facing as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
hats off to you for doing the inner work and getting through it.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And I
Okay.
just want to make sure like I pass on my experience onto the next person
Yeah.
who is still in that struggle and know that they're not alone. Hence why I started the podcast, trying to get that message out there
Yeah.
so that people can resonate with people that they actually know. It's very easy to resonate with uh, people abroad and celebrities, but I just feel that there's something that's so pure about somebody that you can relate to on a human level.
Yeah.
Not just saying a celebrity or influencer that you can't relate to. You can. A lot of people do. Don't get me wrong. But I just
Yeah.
feel that there's something innate about somebody that you know personally on a personal level that it really gets to you to say that I don't feel alone. And going through this journey now while speaking to so many guests and people who have reached out and responded in kind have said, thank you for being an inspiration because it's unlikely that you would have ever heard that from those people if we
Yeah.
didn't share our experiences.
No, you're right. Yeah, and that's what it is, right? I actually celebrated my birthday yesterday, by the way.
Oh, happy
So-
belated birthday! Actually, my mom and my sister's birthday is on the 7th, so
oh wow, Cancerians.
yeah, so yeah, consider it.
So the only reason why I'm mentioning that, and it's not belated for me. The year has just started, right? Because we got a long way to go till the next birthday. Uh, I had so many messages that come through. I haven't got through all the messages, but people that were wishing me a happy birthday were actually saying that, you don't realize how much you inspire us with your daily postings and with everything that you're doing. So, people do watch you and they get inspired by you. Yes, they may not comment on your post, etc., which is okay because I'm not here for likes and comments. I want to be able to do exactly that. I want to inspire you in some way. And when people were saying this on messages in a birthday wish to me, I was like just thinking to myself, this is so amazing because again, it's feedback, right? It allows
Yeah,
me to keep doing what I'm doing because I know it's touching somebody out there who could have been going through a bad day as well. So
yeah,
I really felt it from the heart when I got all of these amazing wishes as well. And that's what it's
that's
about, right?
amazing.
And then my daughter actually said to me, she said, "Well, are you gonna?" And there's a whole lot of people. She said, "Are you gonna send thank you messages to everyone?" I said, and I do that. That's me normally, right? I see myself as a good communicator, but more so for me, it's if that person can take the time to wish me, why can I
Exactly.
not take the time to thank them?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it's a simple thing of being kind. Now imagine if we can spread the same kind of communication trait to as many other people out there in the world. What a beautiful world
Yeah,
we live in.
for sure. That's what it's
Yeah.
about, right? Everybody
It's
wants to live
simple.
harmoniously. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody wants to live harmoniously. I mean, there's so much of trauma and happening right now in the world and parts of the
Challenging.
world. I'm not adverse in those topics, so I'm not going to comment.
Yeah.
Well educated, but I have my own opinion. That's for another day. But yeah, I mean, it's that, like you said, it's those moments where you feel like, okay, what I'm doing is making an impact, and that's the win you take, not the likes, not the comments,
That's
not the
it. Yeah.
views. I mean, those are part of the journey, but it's when somebody comes to you and says, "Thank you for being an inspiration."
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
that's the win you take. And I want to touch
100%.
on your book, the Millennial Success Code. How did that come about? Why the name Millennial Success Code? And
Look, so just one step back then, right? So 2021, after I had gone through, so I've never been aspired to be an author. I just want your
Mhm.
listeners to get that. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because this is so possible for anyone out there, anyone listening, right? So 2021, when I went through my COVID journey, uh, I was not wanting to write a book or write about it or anything like that. But there were two friends that saw that I was in hospital on social media, and they said to me, Nolan, the world needs to hear your story. And I said,
Mhm.
no, hear my story how? They said, write about it. I said, no, I'm too lazy to write. I can type, yeah, but don't ask me to write a book. It's not part of my goal plan. It's not on my agenda. But eventually, I was able to turn that painful experience into a success story and become a first time author. And I wrote a book called My COVID Journey, Mind
Okay.
Acts and Techniques that got me through it. But that book was written, yes, to make money, but more important for me was it had two distinct intentions. One was to help those people that have lost their loved ones because of COVID to understand what a COVID patient goes through so that they can reach peace and closure and move on with their lives. So again, it was that serving that
Okay.
came into
Yeah.
play. And you'll see when I talk about the millennial success code, your listeners will understand why I'm mentioning this. So it was that service to humanity that was at the top of my mind. The second part was to share mind acts and techniques that I used on myself that they could use for any obstacle or challenge that they went through in their lives. So that's what it was
Right.
written, and that's what started my author journey. So that was 2021. Then 2022, 23, 24, I had connected with Ignite Publishing or Ignite Humanity in Canada, and
Mhm.
they have become very, very close friends to me. I wrote two chapters in two books called Ignite Your Faith and Ignite Your Courage. It's at the back here on my bookshelf. So I wrote chapters in that book. But as I started to write these chapters, something inside me was working to the point that says, you know, we need a book that's a blueprint that somebody can take, read the book, apply what you've got in that book after each chapter, and adapt it in their lives. That's the blueprint they need. And who that somebody was actually the youth. Now, although
Yes.
I've called the book the Millennial Success Code, Inspire, Enlighten, Transform, it's for anyone between the ages of 16 to 44. And why I say 16 to 44 is because there's a lot of people that are now in corporate that have reached that point where they're earning a good salary, they've got the titles, they've got the house, the cars, the family, etc. But they kind of like Kishan, they're in a stuck state. What now?
You're right.
So part of
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
book
Yeah.
does is teaching them purpose. Now it's teaching them to say, well, you've got everything. Now go out and contribute to your communities. Go and make an impact to others. But going back to this writing journey, so again, like my COVID book was written with an intention to help others, the Millennial Success Code is written purely to help people get out of the stuck mentality. And that people
Okay.
is like our youth within that age group. A lot of youth out there, and I don't know if you've seen this, and I'm sure you would have, a lot of youth feel that they're broken. A lot of them feel hopeless. A lot of them are
Mm.
going through a thing called limiting beliefs. A lot of them are going through a lot of struggles in life because with the youth, they're going through a lot of challenges, right? Social media
Yeah.
is, has not been a good service to them. And it can be a good service if it was used in the right way, but they don't. So when I was thinking about this this book took me 18 months to write, by the way. When I was thinking about the book, I said, I need to create this blueprint because I've been working with youth for a long time. I've been doing a lot of research. I've been coaching them, mentoring them, and all of that information that they were giving me, I was taking it and I'm saying, well, I need to put this in a book. But the book has a different twist to it because what I've done in the book is it's not just written as a book that you just read and put down. It's
Yeah.
written in such a way that each chapter I speak about my personal story of what I've gone through. And by the way, similar to what you've been through with suicide, I've been through suicide as well. So I speak about it because people want to relate to your authentic truth. I speak
Yeah.
about it in there, but I just don't speak about my story. I speak about this is what I've done to get through it. So
Yeah. You
in
provide a solution to
a
the
solution.
problem.
Exactly. So in each chapter, I'm providing them a solution. I'm giving them some reflective exercises. So the book is based in like success principles. It's got a success mindset paragraph, a success code, and then you go and do the exercises. And I say to everyone, if they want to a blueprint to life, get the book, but don't get the book just to read it and put it aside, because we know
Mm.
knowledge is powerful only once we apply it, right? And
Yes.
I've written that
Yes.
book specifically in three different phases. So the first phase, which is the first six chapters, deals a lot with internal workings, internal healing. I teach you how to find your purpose, how to understand your values, and how to understand how your thoughts work, how to understand what you're going through, how to dissect this, all of that in the first phase, which is internal foundation. And the second phase is external foundation. And this is now taking what you've learned and going and applying it in your personal and professional life so that you can show up as your best, either in your work environment, as an entrepreneur, in your personal life, or wherever it is. And then the last phase of the book is basically going through something that I call kind of like a give back. And that's more your collaboration, your networking, and your
Yeah.
community involvement. Because a lot of people are doing extremely well out there, but they don't give back as much as they can. And they have a lot to give back. And I'm saying give back not only from a financial point of view,
Oh yeah, yeah.
give
Time.
back your time,
Yeah.
just help others. So the Millennial Success Code, it's doing really well. In the first 2 days, it became an international bestseller in 4 countries. It was
Wow.
Canada, the US, Australia, and New Zealand. So it became on Amazon the bestseller. It's now got the bestseller status. If you don't mind, I can show you what it looks like.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
That's Millennial Success Code out there. And you see, it's a very, very easy read. But like I said, it's all about applying it, applying the knowledge
To your daily life.
that you get from there, because that's the most important. So the book is it's not almost, it is a lecture book. So I'm speaking to universities, and if your listeners are working in universities, colleges, or schools, I would love to get in contact with them, because if we don't take the initiative and work with this generation or the youth of today, I know in South Africa, I speak for that, and Kishan, you would have seen this in
Yeah,
South
yeah.
Africa. We're at a state of decline at the moment from a structure point of view, from a mindset point of view, from a lot of things, right? We need the youth of today to become authentic leaders so that we can start building this country and building Africa and building the balance of the world as well. So I'm really
Yeah.
passionate about this book. And that's what got me to put this book together. It's just to make sure we can make an impact out there and make a bigger impact as well. And a lot of the
Yeah.
proceeds from the book, by the way, if your listeners are wondering, yes, I am going to make money from it because it took me a lot of time. I've invested a
Of
lot.
course. Of
But
course.
the type of what I've done is a lot of the book sales will go into the community skills village for our nonprofit organization. Again, it's giving back to make sure,
Yeah.
because we all could do it with money, but I don't need billions to survive. I don't need millions in my bank account to survive. It's going to lie there. COVID taught us that no matter
Yeah.
how rich you were, your money mattered. Your money did not matter when COVID took you out, right? So it was a
Well,
big learning.
think of just last week, Diogo Jota.
Oh man,
That's
yeah,
just it there in an instant. You can build yourself up so much. It takes you so long, and in an instant, it's taken away
just
from you.
goes right.
Yeah, that's why we
Yeah,
just gotta enjoy, kind of like live in the moment as much as we can. I mean, we do have to also, you know, prepare and foresee for the future,
yeah,
and also learn from the past. But living right now is the most important thing, because in an instant it can just be taken away. And what you've done is you've given people the opportunity just to try and get there,
yeah.
no matter how long it takes, because there's no time frame to it, right? You don't. It's not a one size fits all solution.
Absolutely.
It's going to take some time for somebody to find their purpose. They're going to be very frustrated in finding, but that's the journey you've got to go through.
True.
That's
Yeah.
that's the journey, because at the end, when you get to that point of that, aha, yes, this is my purpose, then it's about how do I then carry on that momentum. But when
Yeah.
it's like, it's the whole excitement. You have to feel excited about it. It has to be something that comes from within. it's
Yeah,
very difficult. It's very different to explain to somebody what when you say, "Oh, this is my purpose." And now when somebody asks me, "How's things going?" I'm like, it's I found balance between work
yeah,
and what I love doing. And somebody said, "How do you find the time to do all of this?" I'm like, "It doesn't feel like work to me."
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, and when you talked about also finding solutions to the problem, that immediately then took me back to the IT mindset because we always in that in that profession we're always looking for
solution
solutions.
driven.
Yeah, so we're always digging into the problem to find a
Yeah,
solution. They call it RCA if you come from corporate,
yeah,
root cause analysis.
yeah.
But yeah, it's something that's always it's within yourself. It's something inside of you that when it starts to then uh, levitate or glow without, you feel it. You know it's your purpose.
True. And that's what
But
the
don't
book
be
does.
frustrated. Yeah. And don't feel
Yeah,
like you're not making a difference because now you haven't found your purpose. No, you
correct.
will
Yeah,
find it. It's just you got to be patient and be kind to yourself. And sometimes you will find it, sometimes you won't, and that's okay. But
yeah.
as long as you try, that's all that matters.
And keep trying, right?
Yeah.
Keep trying. Just don't stop because I didn't get to this point overnight. It took me years and years and years to get here. And now what we're saying is now we have a blueprint to make it much more easier for the youth because we know in today's generation, it's a very fast-paced world. So people want quick solutions as well. So, here's something like that's a blueprint for you to get on and find your purpose much faster than taking years like what we've done, right?
Yeah. Public speaking,
Yeah.
was that something that you're comfortable with in the beginning or something that you've now become a lot more comfortable with?
Look, I with public speaking, I think we from the time we're born, right? Or as we grow up that speaking age, we are speakers, right? It's just how we take our message, how we take our story and translate it. But of course, with public speaking, you cannot just go and expect to stand in front of an audience and deliver
Yeah.
something, right? You got to be good at it. And the way you're good at it is find your niche. And your niche is within you, right? Your story, or for me, my story became my niche because when I speak about my story and people hear me talk about it, they realize and they connect with you immediately because I'm speaking my story. But I'm not just sharing that story. I'm always sharing tips and tools on how I got through this, how we got through apartheid, how we got through poverty, and things like that. So for me, I had to learn a lot with public speaking. I did join a few organizations just to better my speaking skills. But I find with public speaking, you get better by practicing, and you got to practice. For me, your story has to flow. You got to have a sequence. You can't just go out there and just speak about topic A and then suddenly
Mhm.
go to topic Z, because then you're going to lose your listeners. And when
Yeah.
you do public speaking as well, speak about something that's relevant in today's day and age. I can't come to an audience that are IT professionals and speak to them about accounting as an example.
Oh,
You've
yeah,
got
you
to
lose
speak,
them in the first seconds.
you lose them. And especially with the youth as well, right? You want to speak about something that's relatable to them and what they're going through as well. So, I've been doing public speaking now since 2019, around there. So I still don't consider myself the best out there, but I must mention this part. Excuse me. I took part in a South African competition, and it was called the Speaker Factor, and I did pretty well there. My recent one in May was in Salt Lake City in Utah. It was called Ignite X. Ignite X is a mixture of American Idol and TEDx together, and there was like 10,000 US dollars prize money up
Wow.
for grabs. Yeah. So I did my best, and I came as a runner-up. There were people from
Oh,
about
amazing.
9 different countries. Yeah. You had 10 minutes to deliver a talk, and we had these judges that were like the Simon Cowells of this world, really, really hard and stuff. But I was surprised, not surprised. I knew I've practiced it. I knew that
Confident.
I'm
Yeah.
going to do well. And when I walked on the stage, I owned the stage and I delivered a really, really good talk. I came up as the runner up. And for me, that's a win because it allowed me to become better. Yes, I didn't
Yeah, for
get the
sure.
$10,000, it allowed me to become a better speaker and just grow through it as well.
Experience.
And
Yeah. The
experience,
experience is what counts. Yeah. I mean, you
yeah,
take that memory with you now, and like you said, you when you go into your next event, you're even more confident.
true.
You know,
And
that's
it's happening.
something that happened. So I asked my wife to do the first snippet. The disclaimer
Yeah.
for Tavania's podcast,
Okay.
and there was no video, no nothing. It's just a reading of a script. But she stumbled once or twice, and for myself as well, I realized that's in a moment I realized when you start something out in the beginning, it's always going to be nerve wracking. But as you go along, similar to like now, I'm like almost 50 podcasts down. I feel a lot more comfortable with myself speaking.
Yeah.
Before it, I was very apprehensive of how it would sound. Did I get the right message across? But something said to me, just be your authentic self. People will resonate with being your authentic self, and that's
Yeah.
what it's about. And then as you go along, you become in anything in life, right? You practice the practice, you practice, you become a little bit more better and better and better, and then you just
True.
start to then you know adding onto that skill to try and get better at something else, maybe deliverance or speech, something like that, eye contact, body language, those kind of things. But when you start off, it's always going to be nerve wracking, and that's when the fear-based factor comes in. That's why a lot of people don't start or excuse me, act on their purpose because they're too
Mm,
afraid to start
correct.
and they want to
Yeah.
be perfect from the get go. It's never going to be like that. It's
Never going to
always
be
just
so.
going to be exactly. So, my message now to people, I've had a guest of mine also is now providing so much of great insight into how to deal with certain communication scenarios or in the corporate environment. And she was also a little bit apprehensive how to start, where to start, would people resonate with me? Then I just mentioned to her, just start.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect, but when you gain momentum, you will feel it within yourself that you are getting to a better place, and what you're delivering now is making an impact, which she is. She's
Yeah.
not, and she told me the other day, it's very hard work creating content and researching and stuff like that. It is. It's time consuming. It can become very. I did mention to her, you're gonna get to a point in like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Does this even make sense? It's so exhausting. But don't forget your why.
Yeah.
Never forget your
Absolutely.
why, and that keeps you going. That's the motivation that
You
you keep
need.
within
Yes.
yourself.
Look, and it's not only public speaking, right? It's anything. Get started
Exactly.
with whatever goal you're going after as well, and just do it as well. It goes back to that what we spoke about earlier on. Accept that we are not perfect. We are going to make mistakes and learn from it. So, yeah, always try to be better than you were the previous time you spoke. Just grow through that.
No, congratulations on the book. And if somebody who wants to now actually purchase it, where can they find it?
So for international purchases, they can go onto Amazon and just look for the Millennial Success Code. I'll share the details.
I will leave the links in the description below.
Yeah, there is a link for Amazon as well.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you, Nolan. And go out and support Nolan. And it will just only help you and support him as well in his purpose.
Yeah,
But I always, when we come towards the end of these discussions, I always want my guests to let me know what they would like to leave their legacies. I would like to ask you, should Nolan now have a legacy, what would that be?
you know, for me is to have the skills village up and running to the point where even if I'm no longer around, other people can still continue doing this work. So for me, leaving a legacy is to allow people to understand that serving humanity should be a must for every single one out there. And I'm starting it off. A lot of the footwork has been done. We've
Okay.
really grown. I'm not saying follow my legacy. You can build your own legacy as well, and you should. But just remember, when you're building your legacy, think of serving humanity. Humanity needs a lot of work now. It needs a lot of people to come together and work together as well.
That's
So yeah,
amazing.
that would be it for me.
No, thank you. Thank you, Nolan. Thank you for showing up so fully for us today with your stories, the softness, the strength. Your voice reminds us that healing is possible and that purpose isn't from outside, it's within us.
Yeah.
To everybody listening, if this conversation stirred something in you, sit with it, breathe with it, journal it. That's where the shift begins. But thank you,
Absolutely.
Nolan. Thank you so much for taking the time out today. I really appreciate it. And for everybody, just remember to hit that like, subscribe, and share this with somebody that will need it for today or in the future. And it will just help also my channel grow, just to bring you a lot more inspirational people like Nolan. And until the next one, everybody, stay zen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kishan. Really appreciate you having me on. And to the listeners as well. Thanks for taking the time to listen to Kishan and myself today and share this with your networks as well. Everybody can do with stories that we share. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.